Yeah. Okay, so welcome to Meditation Night, wherever you are. So my name's Abhayamati. I'm filling in for Artistidi and Vidyasaki this evening. So those of you who saw the promo on YouTube or the email would have seen that tonight we're going to talk about Groundhog Day. And the reason I've said that is because the other morning I woke up and thought my life felt like Groundhog Day, i.e. every day feels the same. So this has been my experience during lockdown because I haven't gone very far, and every day pretty much is the same. I'm working from home, and so I'm not, my routine is pretty much identical from day to day. So I thought I'd watch the film again and see whether it had something to teach me. And so I'll just do a little synopsis of the film in case you've not seen it or you haven't seen it for a while. So it has Bill Murray. He plays a guy called Phil Connors, and he's quite a cynical guy, and he's covering a festival called the Groundhog Day Festival in a place called Punxsutawney. And he basically just wants to get in and get out. And it becomes very clear that he's somebody who's just really looking out for himself. Yeah, he's quite cynical. And during the stay, they're not able to leave due to a snowstorm. And then a mysterious thing happens. He wakes up, well, it seems the next day, but it turns out to be exactly the same day. And basically, he keeps living the same day over and over again. And to start with, he decides to make the most of this from his sort of egotistical, self-centered point of view. He eats as much as he likes to eat. He smokes. He's pretty nasty to people. And this doesn't seem to bring him any satisfaction. He even goes to the trouble in the end of trying to kill himself, wondering whether that might release him from the situation. So he goes from being very self-centered to being completely sort of desolate. And in the end, basically, he's able to release himself from this trap of being stuck in this same day over and over again by turning his attention outward, by turning his attention to other people, and by caring about other people. So he no longer is no longer self-centered. He becomes a lot more other-orientated. He's very interested in other people. He's actually much more interested in his own experience. And in a sense, he kind of comes to life. So in a way, the message is that in some ways, particularly during lockdown, but in our lives generally, we can feel as if we're a little bit stuck in our own habits and our own routines, particularly our own habits of mind. And when I was watching the film, which I did really enjoy, actually, and it did make me cry, I have to say, I thought of a quotation from the Dhammapada, which is a very fundamental, essential text of Buddhism. And in fact, right at the beginning of the Dhammapada, the Buddha says, and it's translated in different ways, that with our thoughts, we make the world we live in. So what he's saying is that the experience that we have of the world is completely conditioned by our thought processes, by the way that we approach the world. So Phil Connors saw a cynical world. Yeah, he lived in a cynical universe because that was how he looked at things. That was how he chose, in a way, to experience things. He saw things through a cynical, self-centered lens. And in a way, the universe, his world, reflected that back to him. You know, people didn't respond well to him, and in a way, it reinforced his ideas, his views. And so really the key message there is that when we change our views, when we change our mind, we essentially change the world that we live in. So the next day when I woke up, and it was a different day, having watched the film, it did make me think that through meditation over the years, I've noticed how it's changed not just the way I think, but in a way my ability to not just think, but also to emote and behave in a way that's more creative and more spontaneous. And in fact, I can see that even in the process of meditation. So I've been meditating outside the last a few days, which is a great thing to do. You're really sort of in touch with the real world. Cars, alarm clocks, birds, everything that I've heard. It's been very nice just to be meditating outside. And the one thing that I've really noticed having watched the film is just how much my mind, my state of mind and my attitude towards myself and towards the world transforms during the meditation practice. So this doesn't always happen. I mean, sometimes all we see is our world, if you like. We get a window into our world, and we get to see our habits, which in itself is extremely valuable. But at times, and certainly over time, if you meditate regularly, you really do start to see how you're able to change your mind. And even within a half hour or 40-minute meditation practice. So tonight we're going to be doing the mindfulness of breathing. And in some ways you might think, well, why aren't we practicing the metta bhavana? Because in a way, the teaching, if you like, from Bill Murray, the teaching from Bill Murray from the character he plays, Phil Connors, was to develop love and to love the world. And that's true, but we should also make sure that we have an attitude of love in all the meditation practice that we do, but that we also see the value in developing mindfulness. So a sense of presence, a sense of mindfulness gives us a feeling, a sense of an anchor, if you like, in our experience, a clarity in our experience, so that we're really able to see what's going on in our minds. So when I lead you in a moment in the mindfulness of breathing, I would encourage you to open up to your experience as it actually is. So I can guarantee that whatever experience you're having tonight in the meditation is the right experience. Okay, so it's not that when we try and do the mindfulness of breathing, we think that we have to eliminate everything else from our minds and just concentrate on the breath, and anything else that happens is a terrible thing and we should just get on with the breathing. Actually, it's really the other way around, that we should rejoice in the fact that we're able to see the functioning of our minds. Because with mindfulness, by bringing mindfulness to our minds as we experience them, we actually change them. So you can have confidence this evening that if you sit and you find yourself distracted, I hope not thinking too much about the film, but if you find yourself distracted, you find yourself feeling anxious, you find yourself feeling angry, tired, whatever it is, I hope that you don't think or feel too much that there's anything wrong with that, because there isn't. Yeah, whatever is arising arises in the meditation. The crucial thing, and of course this is the lesson from Groundhog Day, is that we have a choice. So we have a choice about what we do. And the important thing is that we respond. That choice is a choice taken with kindness. Yeah. So whatever happens in the meditation, whatever you experience, simply notice it as best you can in a kindly way, and then bring yourself back as best you can to the practice. And I will be leading you through anyway, giving you some tips, some indications. If you are regular and you have your own approach to the mindfulness of breathing, then by all means tune me out if you prefer. But you might like to follow the way that I'm leading it, as I might be taking a very slightly different approach. Okay, so we'll have a space at the end for questions and answers. So maybe try and put that to one side for now if you've thought of something you want to ask, or if something comes up in the meditation. And I'd be very happy to explore any questions that you have at the end. Maybe I'll say a little bit more if I feel inspired to. But for now, just take up your meditation seat. So just take a minute or two to set yourself up in the position you're going to be in to meditate. So however you like to be seated, I'm seated on a stool with a cushion on top and a blanket to support my hands so I can be upright. So if it's a bit warm in the room, you might like to have the window open. And if there are sounds outside the window, just allow them to be a part of the meditation, provided that they're not too distracting. Make sure you've switched off your phone and that you don't have any alerts on the device you're using to watch the stream. And we're just going to begin for the first few moments, just sitting in our meditation posture. And to begin with, I don't want you to do anything in particular, just to sit. So if you've had a busy day, this might be the first time that you've been still and quiet. And if it is, don't be surprised if the rest of your day starts to catch up with you. So if you notice yourself thinking about other things or feeling emotions that have been stirred up during the day, that's fine. Just allow them to be present. And if you don't feel anything in particular, that's also fine. There's no right answer. We're just simply tuning into what's going on at the moment. And particularly if your mind is quite busy, just start to bring some attention down to the contact between your body and your seat and your body and the ground. So just really feeling those points of contact, the buttocks, your feet if you're sitting in a chair, knees if you're kneeling astride cushions or sitting on a stool. Just feeling the raw sense data, if you like, the basic experience of contact. And let that be an anchor. Let that be a way to bring yourself into this moment. So wherever your mind is, your body is here. The ground is here, and your seat is here. So we can have confidence in that sense of contact, that sense of connection. And we can experience that as contact with the earth, the vast earth under us. And of course, we're all seated together, wherever we happen to be, on the same earth, all supported, all sitting together. And then when you feel ready, just lightly close your eyes so that your attention is focused a little bit more within. And just begin to tune into the rest of your bodily sensations. So noticing, as well as the contact, other areas of pressure, perhaps between your hands and whatever they're resting on. Feeling the temperature, warmth, coolness, and if the window's open, maybe a light breeze. Just allow yourself to experience the sounds around you. So we don't need to close off from the world when we meditate. The world is still going on. So any sounds that you notice, in a way just allow them to give you a sense of presence, a sense of location in space. So that you have a feeling of your body seated, still and upright, supported by the earth, as well as a sense of the space around you in terms of sounds, in terms of the feeling of air movement, any sense of light on the eyelids. So we're connected with the earth and we're connected with the space around us. And just take a few moments just to enjoy the simple embodied experience of being alive, of becoming more conscious, becoming more aware, getting more in touch. And just allow yourself to relax, taking deeper breaths if it's helpful. And just relaxing on the out breath. And as you sit as still as you can, start to notice movements in the body that are associated with breathing. So there's no need to force the experience, just noticing the belly, the chest, the throat or the upper lip. Just wherever you happen to experience the movement of the breath. And without forcing, bring more and more of your attention, more and more of yourself to this experience of breath. And if that feels difficult for whatever reason, or you get distracted, just come back to your body more broadly and your connection with the space that you're in, through the sounds and through the sensations of contact with the ground. Just to help us to relax and settle, notice that point at the end of the out breath where we fully let go. If you find it a support, you can lightly count the end of the out breath. So counting 1 at the end of each out breath, then 2, 3, up to 10, and then back to 1. If it helps you to settle and to concentrate more on the breath. So thoughts will arise, feelings will arise. Just notice them, welcome them. We're taking this precious opportunity to look directly at our experience, and that includes the thoughts and the emotions that are going on. And for now, just allow them to come and to go, choosing in each moment to be with the body and with the breath. Anytime you notice yourself getting drawn off is a moment of mindfulness. So when you notice, be pleased, be grateful for the opportunity to gently come back to the simple experience of body and breath. If you feel yourself controlling the breathing, just relax the attention. Come back to the body, not trying to make the breath do anything. And then when you feel ready, gently move back towards those sensations. So now just take the opportunity to relax the focus on the out-breath. Broaden yourself back out to the body. Include the breath, but allow yourself to have a more broad experience. Relaxing if there's any tension has built up. So hopefully things have settled a little. So now we can bring a little bit more energy into the practice. And we do that by noticing the refreshing in-breath. Noticing where we draw the air from the outside into the body to invigorate us. So just notice wherever you spot the in-breath. It may be in the chest or the belly again. It may be around the nose or the mouth. And again, if it's helpful, you can use the count just before the in-breath, as a way to anchor you. And again, any train of thought you get caught up in, be pleased that you've noticed, that you have the mindfulness that can tell that you're distracted. And just find your way back to the bodily sensations and to the breath. Again, you can just drop the counting, drop the particular focus on the in-breath. And hopefully you've begun to build up some steadiness of mind, feeling more present. Even if you're distracted, you notice that you're distracted. We can begin to more fully experience the breath. So the breath comes and goes regularly, moment by moment, day in and day out. We don't do the breath. It's just going on without us needing to do anything. Regular breaths, but never the two are the same. So really try and fully inhabit each breath, trying to see each one in its own unique characteristic. Sometimes long, sometimes short, sometimes tight, sometimes easeful. Countless sensations throughout the body. We can even feel the breath in the back, the shoulders, the sides. As best you can, be fully with the breath. If any particular sensation is stronger, by all means just place your attention there and really try to feel it. If you feel that your mindfulness is quite steady, that you're able to stay with the breath fairly continuously, by all means, make your attention more subtle and just focus on the lighter sensations of the breath, such as where the air touches the nose, the nasal passages, the top lip, or perhaps the subtle movement in the belly. And feel free, if you prefer, just to stay with the whole breath, or even to bring in the counting if you feel that's helpful. Stay grounded in the body. Be awake to your experience of the breath. And again, just relax any particular effort that you're making. See if you can just stay with the breath, but without making any particular effort. Come back to your body. Come back to the ground underneath you. And just sit comfortably for a few moments to absorb and experience the fruits, the effects of the practice. So slowly and gradually find our way back from the meditation, taking our time, beginning by paying particular attention to the body as it is in contact with the seat and the ground. Tuning in to the sounds. If you're in Cambridge, it might be the sounds of the rain. Don't be in any rush. We can just include all these experiences within the meditation practice. You might want to move a little bit, maybe just moving the fingers or shoulders, upper back, just feeling again the sensations. Just bringing a little bit of movement into the end of the meditation. You might notice the light playing through your eyelids. And in your mind, you'll be able to imagine the space that you're sitting in. So feel free to just sit with the eyes lightly closed. In a moment, I'll ring a bell, and you can use that as an opportunity to gently open the eyes. And as you do so, don't feel you need to do anything, take in any information, engage with anything. Just allow your eyes to have a soft gaze, perhaps slightly down from the screen, just to give yourself an opportunity to further absorb the practice. So just allow yourself a little bit of time and space to come back to the room. Don't rush. You might feel a little bit different to before the practice. You might even feel a little bit tired particularly if you've had a hard day. So just give yourself a few moments. Okay, so one of the benefits of having a meditation community is that we have the opportunity to explore meditation together. So the nice thing this evening is that wherever we've been meditating together. So if there's anything that you would like to ask or any comments you'd like to make, then do type those in the chat, and I'll be very happy to respond. It might just be helpful or interesting to know how you got on with the practice, and particularly if there are any reflections that come up related to what I was saying at the beginning about Groundhog Day, and more specifically what the Buddha said about minds, in direction of our minds determining our world. If there's anything that you've noticed, or also anything that's not clear about that, it does throw up certain questions, such as, what do we mean by the world? So maybe I could answer that question just in case, just in case you're going to ask, because it is quite an interesting area. In Buddhism, we don't speculate about existence. We don't speculate about what's called ontologies, about things, whether things exist or not. Instead, and the thing I really like about Buddhism is that it's very practical. It's very practical and it's very relevant. So when we say the world, this word loka, what we mean is the world that we live in. And of course, we all live in our own world. I don't mean that we disappear off into our thoughts and daydream, although of course that is a world of sorts, but I mean that everybody experiences the world as they experience it. And at the beginning I was illustrating that with Groundhog Day, and how, given the opportunity to experience the same day over and over again, Phil Connors actually experienced many, many different days. And it entirely depended, because all other conditions were the same, on what he was about, what he did, how he thought and how he acted. So I hope that clarifies what we mean by the world. It's not by any mystical way that by transforming our mind somehow the external world changes, but our experience of it definitely does change. So does anybody have any thoughts or comments on that? You may even have noticed over the course of the meditation, or now at the end of the meditation, that there may be differences in the world as you experience them. Is the room around you different? Are you noticing colours differently? Are there sensations that you experience that you didn't realise were there previously?
There's no comments coming through yet.
No, that's okay. Everybody's...
Sometimes there's a late surge as people kind of come.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, absolutely. Well, I have to say that for me, when I'm meditating, I wouldn't normally talk straight after meditation, so I can totally understand. And I don't mind filling the space a little bit, but I won't do it too much, because actually it is quite good to have a bit of a transition time. It's a shame because obviously with the class we only have a certain amount of time, but it's good really when you're meditating to always allow yourself a bit of space. I remember a bit of advice somebody was given a few years ago from a meditation teacher, which was to not get involved with anything for 15 minutes after meditation practice. So, for instance, if you meditate for 30 minutes, put aside 45 minutes. And in those 15 minutes, really don't do anything particular. And in a way, count that as part of your meditation practice. Of course, that doesn't help with when we want to have comments, but it's still good advice.
I was just thinking a bit about, sort of at the beginning, about cynicism and being cynical, and how that's like, that just seems like a really, I'm not quite sure what I was thinking about it, but just it's the opposite of kindness, isn't it? It's like an attitude in the world that kind of cuts and separates. That's what you were saying about Groundhog Day. His experience changed as he realised that he had to move from that kind of separation towards kindness and kind of things not being separate, that his happiness, his well-being was very much integrated with other people's and sort of connection with the world.
That's right. Yes.
But that's just, it just seems like such a, often cynicism is seen as kind of a form of humour or a kind of a clever way of being, but actually it's like the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be quite cynical, years ago, and I think that there was probably fear behind that. I think it's a kind of when you were talking about it then, the word block, it feels like a block. I mean, in the film, it's quite interesting because he is cynical, but he seems vulnerable. It's a kind of cockiness, it's a kind of posture. I have the feeling when we do that, let's not say other people, but when we do that, it kind of betrays a kind of a vulnerability. And it is interesting in the film because of the number of things and the number of people that he rejects. He rejects the homeless man, he rejects the admittedly slightly difficult old friend, and everything that's going on. And actually around him are just people enjoying themselves. And he's not able to participate in that. He really has cut himself off. And it really does get him down. He ends up very unhappy. And yes, it is only when he drops that, he embraces the world, he moves towards people, he tries to help people, that he actually seems less vulnerable in a good way. I mean, we talk about vulnerability sometimes as a good thing, but I'm thinking about when you feel frightened or you feel, under-resourced. But no, it's a good observation. Yeah.
There's a few comments coming through now. So Alison's commenting on, she says, please run another session. She's appreciating your style, so that's good.
Okay, thanks.
And saying about your comment about meditation affecting how we are in and receive the world takes the pressure off how we do meditation. So just being mindful and quieting our mind and being present is so important.
Absolutely. Yeah, great.
And then Matthew's saying, thank you, really benefited from the meditation today. Feel more grounded in the world after many hours of screens this week. And I wonder what screens are doing to our experience of the world, which is an interesting point.
Yeah, no, it is. Well, of course, they're a kind of a world of their own, aren't they? When you get drawn into screens. It just puts me in the mind of something that I had a 4-month ordination course in 2005, and I lived a very natural life up a mountain, largely outside. And when I came back, I went back to work. It was a big open plan office. And this was going back a few years when everybody had a really big monitor, not flat screens. And it just struck me as so weird that everybody was peering into these boxes. And that in a way, this box, at least for that period, was their world. And, if they were just to turn their head, they would see trees, they would see other people. And not to criticize, I mean, they needed to work. But it just really struck me that, we create our own world sometimes in some ways in quite bizarre ways, with our phones, our devices, our computers. Great and valuable as they are, it's so important that we stay connected with, the real world. Of course, whatever that means. But maybe, what we've learned tonight is that the real world is what we make of it. So, of course, you can use your device, your screen in a very creative way. But yeah, on a fundamental level, we also need to look after ourselves. Yeah? Is that okay? All right, so I'll just make a few final remarks. Well, firstly, it's been great to be here. In a way, I hope I do have the opportunity to come again. I'll try another Bill Murray film next time, although I still think there's plenty in this. So just to, in a way, remind you of some of the other things that we offer. So we've got 2 really good courses coming up. We've got a relatively new course. We've only run it the once, and it's called A Creative Response to Uncertain Times. So the title itself really puts us in touch with the situation that we're all living through at the moment. And it's an introduction to Buddhism and meditation course. So I think all of you will have had already some experience of meditation, but the advantage of a course is that you do get a more thorough introduction simply because there's more time. And it would be the interweaving of Buddhist ideas. And this doesn't mean that you need to think of yourself as being or wanting to become a Buddhist. But hopefully, as you've seen tonight, Buddhist ideas, Buddhist tools are useful in our everyday life. What the Buddha had to say, for instance, with our minds we make our worlds, is extremely helpful, revolutionary, in fact. So that's one course, a creative response to uncertain times, and that you'll see on our homepage carousel. And the other course that you might be interested in is called The Journey and the Guide. And if some of you have heard of Maitreya Bandhu, he's a very popular teacher based at the London Buddhist Centre. He's written this book, the book of the same title, The Journey and the Guide. And there's a course that goes along with it. And it's an extremely useful course, extremely interesting course, really, that takes you on a journey. It takes you on a step-by-step journey from, if you like, basic mindfulness, although I wouldn't like to use that term because it's very, very rich, but simple mindfulness like we've been practicing tonight, up through until what we would call mindfulness of reality. That is really to see things in their true state, which is really to see them other than we do with our habits. So that's a very, very good course, a very well structured course, maybe a little bit more involved course, but that's also on our homepage carousel, The Journey and the Guide. And both of those courses are by donation. And we're doing what we can at the moment, obviously, to keep teaching going, even though we're not able to always physically offer teaching together. Obviously, it's very difficult at the moment to be able to open the centre. And so we're offering everything that we can by donation. And as a result, of course, we do rely on your donations. We do need you to give us money if you're able to. And you can do that through a link on the chat, cambridgebuddhistcentre.com/donate. And we now have a neat little feature called Donor Box, which allows you to make regular donations if you can. Any small amount that you can make is extremely helpful to us. The camera I'm looking into, the light that the laptop that Liz is using, it's all paid for by you. It's helping us do what we do and to help as many people as we can. So if you're able to, do make a donation. We would be very grateful to receive it. But we'd be even more grateful to see you again. So I hope to have the opportunity to be here. I've been grateful to be here, and not necessarily to see you, but to know that you're there tonight. And I hope to join you again, either here at Meditation Night or some other class or course at the Cambridge Buddhist Centre.